Now, to my left is the delicious Janay Goodman. Janay, it's always a pleasure to have you here live.
Thank you.
And I know you've got some great information about tactical snacking, so why don't you take it away?
Absolutely. Hello, my lovelies. Today we are going to talk about things that you can do in your kitchen to help you and your family stay safe, as well as some steps to take for things when they get out of hand. So I'm Janay Goodman, and this is Tactical Snacking. Studies have shown that the kitchen is one of the most dangerous rooms in your house. I mean, I really didn't have to pull up a study to let you know that slippery floors, water, and sharp objects all in the same area are a screaming disaster zone. But, now that you know it, discuss it. Scalds and burns are rather common in the kitchen, and they're typically pretty mild injuries. To avoid a burn hazard, turn the handles to the left or the right instead of hanging over the stove so that they cannot be bumped. Also avoid reaching over any steaming pots. Put a lid on a pot if you must reach over it. Do not use any higher heat that you can't handle. And if your food starts splattering, go ahead and remove it from the source of heat and turn it down. If you happen to get a burn or scald on your skin, take care of the injury immediately. Now, don't go grabbing any ice. Ice can further damage your skin, causing the injury to take longer to heal. For milder burns, simply flush the area with plenty of room temperature water until the pain subsides. If this injury is more serious, cover it with a cool, damp cloth until the pain subsides. Exposing burns and scalds to heat will further irritate the area, so be sure to wrap the area with sterile dressing and secure it with medical tape. For tongue and mouth burns, soothe your mouth by drinking plenty of cool water, and you'll want to avoid any hot foods and beverages and eat softer foods until your mouth and tongue have time to heal. If you have an oven hood, make sure to clean it so that you don't deal with grease fires. I recommend doing this at least every month, but you can easily do it every couple of weeks. It's as simple as wiping down the area where grease gathers up with a damp towel or a grease cutter. If you choose to use a cleaner or a chemical, make sure that you spray the cloth directly to avoid any drips onto your stove. And never, ever put water onto a grease or an electrical fire. You can use salt or baking soda to smother out the flames. You'll need plenty on hand. That little box of baking soda isn't going to cut it. For larger fires, use a fire extinguisher. I highly suggest putting one on your birthday list or your Christmas list if you don't have one already. In order to use one, you'll want to remember pass. So these things come with different classes. Class K is typically for commercial use only, so it's not one that you'll be able to find very easily. Class F is pretty useful for a kitchen, but if you can't find either one of those, look for an ABC extinguisher or a combination of those. So this one here is a BC. So this is perfect for kitchen. Thanks, Matt. Sure, this one goes for liquids and electrical equipment. So in order to use this, pass means to pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So you'll want to pull your pin, aim at the base of your fire, squeeze the trigger, and then using a sweeping motion, moving back and forth at the base of the fire. Make sure to give room between you and the fire about 6 to 8 feet, depending on how large it is. In order to make sure that you're safe, if you can't handle that fire, make sure that you evacuate immediately. Time is the most valuable thing in the kitchen, but that's not more valuable than your life, so make sure that you stay safe. We all know that broken glass is a pain in the butt, and sometimes it helps if you know how it's going to happen. Sometimes it'll happen in ways you can't think of. So I remember making baked potatoes, and I thought it would be a great idea to fill the container with water to make my baked potatoes cool a little quicker. Well, instead of hot potatoes, I got a hot potential of injuries and hazards. So changing the temperature can rapidly shatter dishes. So do not sweep up any glass if this happens to you. The first thing that everyone does is grab a broom in order to sweep and gather their mess, but you end up actually brushing those particles all over your kitchen into crazy areas. Instead, get a pair of rubber gloves and put on shoes, if for whatever reason you weren't wearing any, and carefully pick up any large pieces with your hands. Vacuum your floors and use a soft piece of bread to pick up the tinier pieces. It's practical to use country loaf bread or just regular white bread, but it's kind of insane for me to ask you to do that all around your kitchen. So you do want to follow this up with a damp towel, and then make sure that you get the bottom of your shoes as well so that you don't track it to other sections of your house. Cuts and injuries are bound to happen. More injuries are caused by a knife that's too dull than a knife that's too sharp. If you injure yourself while cutting, wash and sanitize all affected equipment, toss out any exposed food, Bandage or wrap the area and wear rubber gloves if this injury is present on your hands. To make sure that you don't get electrocuted, make sure that you dry your hands before handling electrical equipment. I know it seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing. Speaking of getting caught up, don't ever leave a high heat unattended. If you must leave the area, set a reminder or have a visual aid to help you remember what you're cooking. And regardless of what you're making, set a timer. It could be 2 minutes in the oven or 10 hours on the stovetop. You'd be surprised at how quickly you can forget a component when multitasking. So the biggest takeaway that I can give you is clean as you go and pay attention. As always, reach out to tacticalsnacking@yahoo.com if you have any questions, comments, or culinary concerns. Have a lovely Mother's Day weekend, and until next time, stay hungry, my friends.
I got a question for
Yes,
you.
sir.
You're talking about hazards in the kitchen. What
Yes.
about that hot jalapeno or the hot salsa? How do you put that fire out?
Actually, acid works very well for that. So a lemon juice, you mean for your tongue, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so things like lemon juice actually work really well.
Really?
Milk can help soothe your tongue, but it's not going to kind of rid of that fire. It will help soothe the area, however.
So instead of looking like you're puckering because your tongue's on fire, you're going to pucker sucking on lemon juice.
Yes,
right? Okay,
yes.
fantastic.
That's the most effective way to do it.
As always, Janay, excellent, excellent. Trey, why don't you take us out with a break, and when we come back, we're going to have our round table. The ladies are going to get here with a whole bunch of good info. They're going to swap notes, points, and we're going to have a good time. So we'll see you on the other side.